Welcome to Chalk Talk.
Chalk Talk.
Leadership Uncovered, where we dive into the minds that are shaping the future of education.
The future of education.
It's just about making sure they know that I see them. I know them. I care about you. My job is to get every kid to graduate. And if we're one short, I feel like I failed.
My name is Matthew Kemmetmueller, and today we have the privilege of sitting down with a friend of mine that we've worked with for years, Erick Norby, and we're going to be talking about the landscape of learning and the masterful touch he's put on education in the Robbinsdale School District. Erick is not only a visionary principal at Armstrong, but he also attended Robbinsdale Area Schools, which is a testament to the district's success. And we're going to talk about Erick's journey from being an assistant principal to a football coach to the leader of this ship. And we're going to talk about all of the dedication and relentless pursuit of excellence that he's put into this school. So I'm really excited to go through these topics with over 2 decades of work in the district and to see how those different roles that you've had within the district have kind of helped craft and shape your journey. So thank you for sitting down and hanging out.
My pleasure, Matthew. Glad to be here.
Can you describe your journey to become the Robbinsdale, the Armstrong principal? Like, what were some of the key experiences that really prepared you for this role?
And it's kind of a long journey. This is my 30th year in education and various roles as a teacher, and I started as a volunteer football coach. But my experiences were that I had a great mentor, right? Somebody that made a difference in my life, that showed me the way, because I wasn't the easiest guy in the world to get along with when I was a kid. I'm a graduate of Cooper High School, 1987.
Okay.
But I had a teacher coach there by the name of Ert Jones Hermeding. Was a football coach, he was a speech teacher, and he was a musical director.
Okay.
And he cast me in one of his plays, and it changed my life forever. And it made me want to be a teacher.
Okay.
And a coach, because I just saw the impact. He made a difference because I was just an average kid doing average things and below average things. And he saw something in me that changed my life, that made me want to be, with kids and help kids like Erick Norby, just kind of that below average kind of guy.
Yeah.
And get up, to a level of helping society in something. But he was the mentor. He was the person that changed everything for me, and that was in 9th grade.
Okay, wow. And then when you got into the district, was he still a part of the district? When you got through like college and you came back, was he still around?
Yep. So I started my teaching career at Cooper High School as a history and a government teacher. But I also was a football coach, and I got to work side by side with him.
Okay.
And it was kind of cool because the guy that changed my life is now working with me, and I'm working really under him. And then I became the head coach 6 years later.
Okay.
And then he stayed on, he retired, and he stayed on as an offensive line coach. So now I was his boss. So now the roles kind of reversed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just a fun experience, and it was just a relationship that, changed me forever, changed me to who I am today. And I think for a much better person than I was, obviously, when I was 16 or 15 or whatever it was.
So with all of the personal kind of history that you have within this district, how does that help you shape like your aspirations and what you're trying to do? How do you think that's impacted your vision for the school?
Well, that's the history piece of it, I think. I tell a lot of kids that if they're kind of acting like a squirrel, they're just hyperactive. I was one of those kids. Mm-hmm. I know how that feels. I know what you're doing. I know why you're doing it. And I really try to grab those kids and say, hey, let's talk about this and let's work through that. And really try to make it more of a positive thing, that they don't look at the principal as a negative. And sometimes that's the job, that you have to make those hard calls, and some kids don't like that.
Well, I think leadership, like in general, we've noticed working with all the schools that we've kind of onboarded, that we work with over the years, it's such a unique situation when you get to a district where you can see there's like a top-down clear vision too, of like, this is what we're expecting and this is what we're working towards. How do you define effective leadership in the educational system?
To me, it means is building and developing a culture that can sustain itself if you walk away. And what I mean by that is having clear and defined expectations for staff, students, and what we want from each kid, from each staff member. And that culture can continue on. This is my 5th year here, and they haven't kicked me out yet, so I guess I get to go another year. And hiring people that have that same culture, values, or morals. And I got the pleasure and the honor to hire all my administrators. You end up trying to hire somebody that has a skill set that you don't have. And you know all my principals, so you know how different we all are. But that's what makes us a great team, and that's what makes our culture sustain itself. Because sometimes I might miss something, but another principal can pick it up and say, Norby, you missed this, let's do this. And they give me honest feedback. Looking at success is, I pride ourselves on graduation rates. Since we got here, it's gone up every year. I just think that's like a very important thing, is that our job as educators is to have a safe environment, have a culture that can sustain itself, and have these kids graduate and be a part of our society, whatever that is.
The thing I didn't really know about before we sat down is I didn't really know a lot about your history with the athletics in the high school, like both personally as a player and then as a coach. Mm-hmm. How do you see the influence of sports within high schools, and how does that help kids be successful? Is that a big part of the culture here? Does that impact how you try to lead both your team as principals and then as the leader to the children?
That's an important piece of education, is activities, athletics, whatever. We're very much a fine arts program. We have excellent music, theater. Yeah, teachers are huge. They're very important, but it's the activities. The other pieces that I love about being in education is we're a team, administrative team to an Armstrong team, staff team. I'm a team guy. I like team sports. I like being around other people that make me better. One thing I'll say about, I know I talked about the principals I got to hire, is I always go down the PJ Fleck line of hire people that are smarter than you. And that's a humbling experience. And I hire people that have the skills that I'm terrible at. Okay, and there's a couple of them that I don't want anything to do with. Yeah. But the big piece is as we do that, you're starting to build that cohesion in our building, in our culture. Yeah. And then the kids, now I go, we have a basketball game tonight, and I'm gonna be there. And you see kids, and tomorrow I'll be, hey, I saw you doing this, I saw you doing that. Or the band's there, and they're playing. And you just tell those kids that you're important. This is important, what you're doing is important, and they love it, they believe it, and they wanna be here. And I mean, a lot of kids come for those things. Yep, we want them their education, their graduation, but they come for that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the importance of showing up for an administrator, just showing up and being that guy. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Whenever you're in a leadership position, there's always challenges that you have to deal with. I mean, it's one of my favorite things that I heard was a president that got interviewed, and they asked him, what was the thing that you didn't know going into this job? And he goes, I'm the guy that has to answer the question that no one else could answer. And like when I get to that role and you get to be in that leadership position, you're it. Like you're the guy. Can you share any particularly challenging situations that you had to encountered as a principal, things that you had to work through, and what lens you kind of operated with as you were working through that?
All I do all day is solve problems, and a lot of times it's other people's problems, and I try to solve them the best I can. And I always try to put that person or that situation in the front of the line. This is what we got to do, and this is why we got to do it. Being transparent is very helpful when you're doing that. One event that happened here, and it's most recent, is October 7th. We have a very strong Jewish population. We have a very strong Muslim-Islam population, and obviously with the attack on Israel and then the retaliation that's still continuing today at Gaza, well, we have students on both sides of the issue. And how do you navigate that as a school? Because I was worried that the kids were going to start fighting, families were going to start arguing about that, and it was going to become a problem. And who's right, who's wrong? Everybody thinks everybody's right, everybody's wrong. And I brought these groups together and we talked about it. This group, of what I said is, if you walk out, you walk out. And if you have any chance of negativity, harming other groups of people, anything like that, and it's on school grounds, that's a problem. Because we know about free speech and all that, but it's not conducive if it's going to disrupt the learning environment. They ended up doing it, and it worked. They walked out there and they went to the park and they did their protest. It was a way for their people to talk about it. I was there trying to give them a solution because I knew what would happen if it turned into a negative on our site. They followed directions, and I was really proud of our kids.
Okay.
Because we've had no problems with that ordeal in the Middle East at all in our building this year. That was it. I'm the guy that has to, give the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember that was one of the hardest administrative decisions I ever had to make. Should I allow them to have that opportunity? Should I not? Are they going to harm someone? Are they not? And you just go back and forth. When you have an admin team that you trust each other, administrative team, we trust each other, we get in a room, we can solve a problem.
Well, especially anything that has like that much impact on the world.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to sweep it under the rug.
Right.
You got to have a solution. You got to have a safe and healthy solution for everyone involved.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm not jealous that you had to deal with that one. So the landscape of education is obviously constantly evolving, especially like post-COVID. I feel like the whole world is changing faster than it ever has. How are you preparing students in this like rapidly changing world to be able to go out and compete in the world with technology and everything changing and evolving so quickly? What are some of the steps and the processes that you're implementing at Armstrong to help kids with this?
A couple of big things that we've done, and since I got here, is we had remodeled our tech ed area, so our automotive area, our woodworking area, our electricity areas. We redid them all. Okay. So we went into more career technical education services where students can earn certifications as they leave and graduate from Armstrong, and now they can go and get a job right away as a welder, electrician, like a journeyman or apprentice. So we're trying to do more things. We also have brought in EMT and CNA, that's a nurse's assistant, where kids can walk out of here with certifications. They still might have to go back to school, but we just knocked out 1 or 2 years that they don't have to pay for. And the other thing that I did is I hired the National Teacher of the Year for Tech Ed. And I went and got him out of Bram, Minnesota, and he's fantastic. His classes are exploding because of the nuance of it. We also have aerospace engineering. Really, we got into the trades. Kids that go to college, or they know they're going to college. I want to be an accountant. I want to do this. They know that. But it's, what about those guys that don't know really, or the gals that don't know?
Well, and trades are becoming like, there's such a shortage in the trade world. And so like, you're getting these kids that are getting out of high school now as electricians, and they're making $50 an hour, and they're killing it.
It's insane that they're 20 years old making $70,000, $80,000. The trades need them. Yeah. But that's what the business in our communities in Plymouth, Luke has been going around a lot, and they donate supplies to us, donate money, and we want kids to come and work for us. And they come in and give speeches and talk about, here's an application, and they can go right now at part-time and make $16 to $25 an hour.
That's incredible.
It's incredible as a high school kid.
But that's also like, what a testament to what you're doing to be able to open up these doors and allow these kids to start that. A lot of us, especially when we're younger, you kind of just need direction. And if you can start getting that at your high school, and you aren't going to be a 4-year college kid. Right. But what an amazing thing that you're able to offer these kids. That's awesome.
Well, we're trying because we want to serve every kid. Not every kid's cookie cutter going to college 4 years, getting a degree in business, and out they go. The other thing is they don't want to have these huge college bills. I mean, college is insanely expensive. You're talking to a dad that's got 2 twins going to college next year. That's why we're doing it, is to help kids be successful earlier and longer. Hopefully the payback is, I'll be long gone, but maybe they'll come back and do something for Armstrong, for our community. Bring a business back, do something for us, and help our community continue to grow.
That's gotta be something you're really proud of, but can you share any other kind of successes that you've had here that you are particularly proud of? Anything that really stands out as like, wow, I did it. You know what I mean? Like, any great success stories?
Oh, that's a tough one to answer, because I feel like there's so many successes and on so many different levels. They can be small. That kid that does not like being at Armstrong at all, that now wants to be there. That's just that might be a little one, but it's a monster one when you see it as a principal that this kid now wants to be here. This kid now is laughing again and smiling again and being with his buddies again and participating, engaging with teachers. You know, there's the one thing that like I said before, that I'm very, very proud of is our bar program. We're nationally recognized. We're looking to get nationally accredited this next year or two. And it's gonna take a lot of work, and it's a lot of work by our teachers. But what I'm proud of is we have 20 teachers, one principal, and a ton of support staff that have dug into this in 9th grade.
Yeah.
And it's improved our failure rate in 9th grade. And a lot of schools right now, and Armstrong included, we are struggling with a failure rate of almost 50% when students walk in after that first 8 weeks of school.
Okay.
That's what we walked into. My first year, it was like 47% of kids in 9th grade have one or more ends, no credit.
Okay.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Because and we know the statistics, it'll take you longer to graduate, or the motivation isn't there. And we've worked at it. We've tweaked some things with the bar program to get it down. Like this past first semester, 2024, we're at 17%.
Oh, wow.
So we dropped it. Monster.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like a cool thing. And that's not about me. That's about me believing in a program, me believing that this is the best thing for kids in our school, and it's the staff, the teachers that are doing it.
Yeah.
And I just sit back and I'm the biggest cheerleader there is, you know, and I'm just proud of them. I mean, I'm proud of our staff of buying into this, understanding what we're trying to do and the why behind it. You know, and like I said, I can go down the road, but that's like the biggest thing, you know. And the other thing is that goes with BARD, and like I mentioned, was our graduation rates. They're improving, and it's a big deal because I know one of the questions that I was thinking about is, what do you think is a successful graduation rate? Yeah, and that's a landmine.
Yeah.
So what's your answer? And I said 100%. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, well, my job is to get every kid to graduate.
Yeah.
And if we're one short, I feel like I failed. And I said, you know what? We're not at 100%. My ultimate goal is to get to 100%. And maybe we'll get there before I retire.
That's awesome. My favorite thing about your answer in that was that you really touched on, I think, the macro of like the school and the success of the school, but then also like the individual kid and how you can have great successes with bringing one kid back into the community and having them be excited, but then also recognize the impact that you have on the district as a whole. That's awesome. So what advice would you give like a young teacher who is maybe thinking about getting into administration, somebody who's thinking about maybe they want to shift from just the teacher role, which is obviously a very important job, but more and shift into that leadership within the school? What advice would you give people?
You gotta love what you do. You gotta be passionate about what you do, and you gotta know your why. And when I figured out my why am I doing this? Because you know what? We can go do the other things and make a lot of money. You know, I could go do what you do, make a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's because I believe in building relationships with kids and loving the kids that you have, making sure they know that you love them and that you care about them. And kids, you know, it's funny when you're an old guy like me and I'll say, hey, I love you, take care of yourself. They look at me like, you're crazy. It's just about making sure they know that I see them. Yeah. I know them. I care about you. You know, and I say a lot of times on Fridays for sure, stay safe this weekend. Yep. See you back Monday. And I worry about kids because the weekends, you never know. You never know. As a new teacher coming into the profession, you got to love what you do. You got to love being with people. You got to be on almost all the time. You adjust and you do it. But I mean, you just got to love and be passionate about kids.
100%. My dad used to say 40 hours a week is a long time to do something you don't like doing.
Right.
Like 40 hours a week, if you aren't having fun with what you're doing, that's a lot of your life that's gone.
Yeah, and that's what I always told my own 4 kids. I said to them, I don't care what you do, love what you do, because even we know that as adults that you spend the majority of your time with the work people and your work, and you better like what you're doing, you better love what you're doing, you better love the people you're with, and it just makes you a better person in the long run.
Well, I think the last kind of thing I want to talk about is something that I've seen you do outside of education that I'm super proud to have helped support you with. I want you to talk about the golf tournament that you set up. And unfortunately, I have not been able to attend in person. We sent out a bunch of crew. We sent out like 4 guys last time. It looked like they had a great time. But I think that's such a cool thing, and I'd like to kind of talk about what that is and the success you've had with that.
It'll be 3 years. July 14th, 2021, my daughter passed away. And she was 24 years old, and obviously it was devastating to our family. And she was a veteran. She served the Air Force 4 years. She had some mental health issues and struggled with some alcohol abuse and passed away as she was recovering. When it was all said and done and I lost my daughter, I also feel like I was lucky I had her for 24 years of my life. But how do I honor her? And so my wife, Erin, and my ex-wife, Kristen, we came up with a plan to start a golf course or a golf tournament, and to raise money. And we're raising money for, it's called Positivity. It's service dogs for veterans. Marissa loved dogs. She had 2 of her own, and you kind of like dogs too.
Yeah.
And I love dogs. And so we ended up starting this golf tournament at Pheasant Acres Golf Course. We did it for 2 years. First year, we raised just around $13,000. And this past year, we raised $24,000. In our second year, it turned into this phenomenal experience. Tom, who owns Positivity, it's all a nonprofit, and he brings dogs out, and so people can see this is the dog that we're sponsoring, and all the money goes to it. 100% of the money goes to it, to Positivity, and then Tom has these dogs from when they're puppies to 2, and then he gives them to a veteran, and every year we get a card now. It's a way to honor my daughter. It's a way to honor America, honor our veterans, and of course, I love dogs, and my daughter loved dogs too. And I just appreciate your company and you personally help support us in that journey, because it's still a journey. We're doing it again this year. So,
well, you should be proud. You should be proud of that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a big thing to take on, and obviously you're making a difference, like a real difference in someone's life. So that's awesome, and we will always be a part of something like that. So one of the things that I wanted to, when I was like setting down this pathway of what the interview should be, I wanted to come up with like a list of Kemmetmueller questions, little Kemmy queries, have you.
Okay.
So I have a stack of questions for you. You're gonna draw a card, read the question, and anything could be on these.
Oh boy. All right.
All right, he's got one.
Can you describe a pivotal moment in your career where you felt like you truly became a leader? And am I to answer that too?
Yeah,
okay.
That's your question.
It was when I was offered the position here at Armstrong, because it's a big school, because it's a community that I grew up in. I was working at an alternative high school, which is smaller, and I loved every minute of it. But I was always an assistant principal. And now when you get tapped to be the leader, I was like, can I really do this job? Can I bring some people? Can I get some help? Kind of thing. But that's when I felt like I was like, oh, I'm here now.
Perfect. All right, well, we knocked out number 71. I want to thank you for sitting down and kind of talking to me, because we've known each other for years, and I learned a lot about this, about you and this school, and this conversation that I didn't know. So I'm grateful for you to sit down and talk to me. I want to give you an opportunity. Look at that camera, look at that camera, look at that camera. You can say whatever you want to the people. If there's anything we didn't cover, if there's any messages you wanted to shout out, this is your opportunity.
I don't know. I don't have a lot to say. I think I talked too much already, but my biggest thing is that I always tell my kids is always be passionate about what you do. And everything that I do, and everybody that I hang out with or hang around, is we're passionate about what we do and how much we love what we do. And I'm lucky, I'm blessed to be a principal in a district that I love And I also am blessed to be working with such smart, intelligent, great people at Armstrong. It's been fun. So that's my elevator speech. Thank you, Matthew. But
Thank you, Eric. And I'm excited about this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And thanks again for being my first one.
yeah.
All right.